Hello, I'm having a look today at the Victorinox Swiss Tool Plus, which just arrived. So first real look, I did unpackage it earlier on, but first chance to explore. So it's an all-leather Velcro sheath, very good quality as you'd expect from Victorinox sheaths. They generally are very good. Good satisfying hook and look there. Now, what makes this a plus is that it comes with an additional bit driver set and corkscrew and eyeglass driver. So these come encoded in the sheath. So you've got a selection of bits there, standard 1/4 inch hex that are the sizes that you don't get built into the tool. So it gives you a good bit of modularity. Confusingly, to me at least, this bit driver does not attach onto the tool in any way, which other multi-tools that I've got do have that functionality with an additional bit driver that comes with them. So I found that one a bit odd. So basically it comes with an additional multi-head screwdriver, but not connected to the tool itself. So, you know, handy to have in the tool pouch, but it's not technically part of the tool. Removable corkscrew with the usual Victorinox eyeglass screwdriver which twists into it, which are, how handy are they? I don't know. They don't work on my eyeglasses. I'm sure they're handy for some people. And there is a mini slotted screwdriver on the tool itself. I probably would use the corkscrew. Not in this, by the way, which is not wine. Right, so the tool itself is pretty chunky. It's 4.5 inches. Yep, 4.5 inches in length, which is just over 110 mil. And the reason that I know that so accurately is because it's written on the side. You've got metric and imperial rule scales on both. All the tools are accessible from the outside of the tool body and all lock. The only tools that is on the inside is the actual plier. Now it's in your classic kind of Leatherman style. You know, Victorinox have long since moved into the plier multi-tool genre. That was some years ago now that they started doing that. And having owned and own several Leathermans, here's one, the Bond for example, for comparison. I actually think I like this better, and I think the build quality is higher. Price wise, you know, £130 yesterday, which is probably similar to most of the Leathermans. This Bond was about £75 a few months ago. And it's a really nice tool, but nowhere near the build quality. Again though, this is a chunky, heavy tool. You know, this isn't something you're going to throw in your pocket very comfortably. I don't love wearing a belt pouch from a multi-tool unless I'm at work, in which case I always wear one at work. I'm a tradesman. And speaking of which, I actually think that this is probably geared towards a kind of carpentry base, which is something that I do for a living. It can not only has a very accurate steel rule, which is unusual for multi-tool. Usually the steel rules on multi-tools are rotten, but it also has a perfect set square 90 degree, which is confirmed by the user manual, and a 180 as well, which is something that I, believe it or not, would use to save me going back and forth to the tool bag for a set square or an engineer square. You know, if I have this on my hip at work, I probably would just pull it out and use it to measure a 90. The tool set itself, I'd probably have to grow my thumbnail out for this one. Fairly standard Victorinox main blade. It's not identical to the 91mm Victorinox range blades, but it's very similar. Much for much. The same steel, inox. So you know what you're getting. It's a softer steel, edge retention is not great, but they sharpen up so easily. You can sharpen them, no problem at all. They will last a lifetime as long as you're not too rough with them, you know, and they're very slicey. They'll slice anything. So soft steel, completely stainless, super easy to sharpen. There's no difficulty sharpening it at all. Even if you're not, you know, a particularly confident sharpener, if you just want to rub it on a ceramic or a kitchen honing rod or something like that, it'll come up no problem at all. Victorinox blades are great for that. So standard kind of sub 3-inch blade. Now on the 3-inch thing, this is not a UK legal tool because it has these locking mechanisms, which mean that the blade locks open until you pull these lugs down, at which point you can then pull it closed. So according to UK law, you don't have this in your pocket without good reason, without good cause. Now, I'm a builder. If I'm on a job site and it's on my hip in a belt pouch, that's a good reason. But if I'm popping to the post office, that's not a good reason. So bear that in mind. Let's see what else we have here. We have, the second tool is a very chunky slotted screwdriver, which is really more of a pry tool. Chances of you using that as a slotted screwdriver aren't very high. Certainly not for me, and I abhor slotted screws. I avoid slotted screws at all costs anyway, but certainly one that size is going to slip a lot if you use a screwdriver. But as a pry tool, you know, you want to open paint cans or, you know, work your way into wooden crates or whatever, perfect. Short, stout, strong, slight beveled angle, perfect. Next is a slightly odd one for me, and again this is why I think it leans towards a carpentry tool base, is a chisel. Now obviously Victorinox have done the chisels on Swiss champs and things like that for a number of years now, and honestly I think it's a pointless tool on a Victorinox Swiss Army knife. I can't use them. It's too small and it's on the back at 90 degrees. I don't understand why it's there. Don't know what you'd ever use it for. However, this one, it's not on the back, so you've got the length of the tool to use. It's got a short chisel grind there, and a couple of sharp wire strippers here. And I actually think that that could be pretty good as a kind of scraper tool as opposed to chisel. Again, I'm not going to do much chiseling with a multi-tool. That's chiseling's a precision function, so you're going to use a chisel for it. That as simple as that. But as a scraping tool, absolutely. Scraping and chipping tool, yeah, absolutely, I'd use it. Right, next is the Victorinox cap lifter. Now it's very similar to the usual Victorinox bottle opener. Just a slight scooped out shape in the back there, and that's so that you can access the nail nick and the other tools beside it. Again, it's got the usual slotted screwdriver beveled edge and the wire stripper. I've never used it on any of my Victorinoxes. Don't know anyone that has, but it's there. Right. One of my favourite Victorinox tools. I see people comment quite a lot that this is something they never use, and I don't know why, because I use it all the time. Either as a Phillips driver, which it does perfectly, it'll fit in a Phillips 2 or a Phillips 1 head really well, or for its intended use as a can opener. In fact, I used it just one on one of my other Swiss Army knives just yesterday while preparing dinner. I use them all the time, and they're excellent. Of all the multi-tool brands, the Victorinox can opener is by far the most competent, the best, and the most consistent in their grind as well. You know, you get a lot of them that vary from model to model, not just brand to brand. This is something that I use all the time, so I don't understand why it gets a lot of hate. And again, every single tool is locking, so you're getting lots of security, lots of rigidity there. Now, after the can opener comes, if I can reach it with my tiny thumbnails, the Victorinox wood saw. Now this is slightly different. If you're familiar with Swiss Army knife saws, it's a slightly different profile, but as with all Victorinox saws, it's excellent. Sharp, flared, beveled, offset teeth, you know, exactly what you want for anything you're going to do with this, which isn't going to be much, you know, it's little projects here and there or things like that. It's never going to be your number one saw. You know, I know it's got a slight carpentry sort of slant towards the tool set, but, you know, it's a multi-tool, so it's going to cut through things thick as your thumb easily. You know, it'll cut through C16 and CLS and stuff like that, but why would you cut through construction timbers with it? That's not what it's designed for, frankly. But it will do a job, and it will do it well, and it will do it better than a lot of the other brands' multi-tool hand saws as well. So that's something to think about. And again, as them all, as I keep saying, it's fully locking. Excuse me, just used the saw for something it's not supposed to be used for. Now, lovely. So we've done that side. The next is the other side of the tool. Victorinox scissors. These are slightly different in size than the usual 91mm Swiss Army knife scissors. The 91mm model of Swiss Army knife scissors. But they're still as good. In fact, they're probably better. They're marginally larger, I think. And they cut fantastically. You know, they'll cut through anything. They'll cut through 550 paracord. They'll cut through 3-core cable. You know, they are tip top. Razor sharp, superb. They'll even, and this is a disgusting one, cut through my toenails, which are gross and thick. And I know that because I use them. There you go. Gross fact of the day. Next on this side is an awl. Slightly different profile than some of the other ones. It's a bit more similar in profile to the awl that you get on the Alox tools, except without the curled upper lip. Chisel grind, you know, sharpened on one side only, with an almost flat point, but still very, very sharp and very useful. You know, as a leather punch or what have you, or to start a pilot hole. It's something that I've used them for before as well. So that's something to think about too. Next is one that I certainly would use an awful lot of the time. Phillips screwdriver. Now this is thankfully full thickness, full size, not the, you know, the flat ones like you get on the Leatherman Wingman, which is just terrible. I think they call them a 2D driver, which is obviously a misnomer because they can't possibly exist and be 2D. But you know what I mean, the flat driver, flat Phillips driver. This is not. This is a proper Phillips driver. Same head on it as you get on the Swiss Champ from memory. Phillips driver, so you know how good it is. You know, that Swiss Champ model's been about for 30, 40 years, and the driver on it is super duper. This is the same one, and fully locking, so you can get lots of torque on it. I tried it on a door handle earlier that's misbehaving, and it's tip top, no problems at all. And it's not going to chew up too much either. You know, it's not, multi-tools being what they are, being a jack of all trades, they're never going to be as hardened as an individual set of screwdrivers. You know, a set of VDE screwdrivers, or, you know, Weras or something like that. They're just not going to be as tough as that. But it doesn't need to be, and it shouldn't need to be, because everybody owns screwdrivers. This is, as with all multi-tools, something that you have on you that does a bit of everything. And that's exactly what it's going to do. And it's a good quality screwdriver. Excellent screwdriver. What else have we got on this side of the tool? We have, as mentioned before, the tiny little slotted screwdriver. There you go. So that there, again, I avoid slotted screws as much as I can. Whenever I find them at work, you know, I get my apprentice to remove them because I hate them. It's just a punishment having to deal with them. They're so awful. But yeah, small slotted screwdriver, does what it says on the tin. Nobody likes using them. Why do they exist? Who knows? And last but not least, a multi-tool file. An actual good one. Now, I had the Leatherman Bond a moment ago for comparison. I hate multi-tool files as a general rule of thumb, but the multi-tool file on the Leatherman Bond is the first one that I have liked up to this point in history, and which I've actually found useful. You know, the grind on it's quite aggressive, the teeth on it are aggressive, the cut is aggressive, the cutting surface is useful. This Victorinox one, slightly bigger, slightly longer, not quite as tall, is equally or more so aggressive in cut, and therefore another good one. So rare enough to find good multi-tool files. Here's two in my two most recent multi-tool purchases. The one that arrived today, the Victorinox Swiss Tool, and the Leatherman Bond that my lovely wife gifted to me back in the summer, 3-4 months ago. So yeah, a really good saw, metal saw on the bottom of the file, a really good hatch cut and cross cut faces on them, and again that's true of the Leatherman Bond as well, which is another excellent multi-tool. Again, not of the same build quality or size or weight or function number as this, but it's not trying to be. So a lot of love for the Leatherman Bond, and it's UK legal, so if you're looking for something to carry all the time, you could do a lot worse than the Leatherman Bond. Right, where did we get to? So, file's good. Right, pliers, the main tool on any plier-based folding Leatherman style, Leatherman-esque multi-tool. Now, these aren't the classic needle nose that you would find on Leatherman. These are a snub nose, or what I would call a lineman's plier. They actually have a slight rounding, a slight bull nosing. They do have wire cutters built in to the teeth, to the jaws, which the user manual tells me does cut hardened wire. I haven't had cause to use any hardened wire cutting today since it arrived, so I'll have to take their word on that one, but I'm sure it will. Now, this is the first pair of Victorinox pliers I've ever owned, because I don't really count the ones on Swiss Army knives, you know, the Swiss Champ and stuff like that, because they're tiny and they're next to hopeless. So these are heavy, much heavier than an equivalent. Really substantial, you know, a ridiculously heavy tool, chunky, reassuringly so. In terms of, now this is something that I always love to do because the Bond has a huge diameter. Let's see how they compare. So, Victorinox, it opens about as much as a standard lineman plier. Maybe it's not a totally fair comparison because the Bond really, you know, opens pretty wide. The Wingman, which I also have, the Leatherman Wingman, I have used before to install a shower when I had limited tools on hand that day, and it will grip and turn a 15mm compression brass fitting on pipes at its absolute maximum extension. The Bond will go way past that. The Leatherman looks as if it won't quite go as far as that. Nobody's doing really many plumbing jobs with a multi-tool plier. Again, that was a bit of a one-off that day. So, perfectly good, usable plier, and without the needle nose, doesn't bother me, not a problem. I don't use a lot of needle nose pliers. I always think of them as an electrician's tool, and I'm not an electrician, so I'm a plumber joiner. So, yeah, so far so good. Very impressed with the quality, the build quality, the weight, the detail, the fit and finish is excellent, as you would expect from Victorinox, to be fair. I've only ever had, of all the Victorinox products I've ever owned, I've only had one that came straight from the box with a mediocre fit and finish, and that was the 84mm Waiter Swiss Army knife, which was just a bit, you know, the fit and finish was a little bit cheap, a little bit off centre, and made me think maybe it was a bit of a quality control issue, let's say. But it wasn't terrible, it was still fine. So, corkscrew fits into this little notch here on the side of the tool, and then always you to open your wine bottles apparently. So they say. So let's have a look at a direct comparison of, now the case is compartmentalised, so tool in the front, bits in the back, corkscrew on the side. Let's have a look at the direct comparison of cases between the Bond and the Swiss Tool. So the Bond, I actually really like the case on the Bond, and the Bond's a really light tool, it's not too intrusive in the pocket, so I don't mind carrying it in my pocket either, but the case is pretty good. The Victorinox, much chunkier. Look at the side-on profile of that, look at that thing, that monster. I can't see me carrying this in pocket ever. I think it's always going to have to be a belt job, especially given that it's got the bit kit with it as well, and the bit kit gives it so much more utility, so much more usefulness, that I'm always going to have to carry it in the belt. But that's okay, that's fine. Tool for tool size comparison. The Bond's a fairly light tool based around the kind of Leatherman PST super tool idea from years ago. So direct size comparison. Victorinox is a little bit taller, about a centimetre or so, and width wise actually very similar. The Victorinox just a little bit thicker, but the weight, you know, twice as heavy. The Bond is about half the weight of the Swiss Tool. And the Bond is a great tool, you know, really fond of it. Non-locking tools, but with a great sort of snap action that keeps them really secure in use. And an excellent fit and finish as well. Although it's kind of a, shall we say, dated design, they've gone back to make this one to, you know, to kind of have that UK legal specific tool, but also a callback to the classic Leatherman style. But excellently, love my Bond. I don't use this one at work. I always feel I don't like to wreck it. I don't know why. You know, I'll happily wreck a Roxon multi-tool, or a DeWalt multi-tool, or a Byberry multi-tool, a Swiss Postec multi-tool, or a Leatherman Wingman, which is a bit crap anyway. At work, happily wreck all those. Just don't like wrecking the Bond. Always feel I should be a bit more gentle with it. Not really sure why. The Swiss Tool, I feel like it probably could take a bit of sight work, and I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and carry this at work for a little while, see how it gets on with a bit more hard use than it would see around the home, and then maybe do a little follow-up video. So yeah, Victorinox Swiss Tool and the Leatherman Bond. Cheers.